With us now, the Karnataka government has gotten into damage control mode over this entire controversy. Now what we are learning is that 3 senior ministers will address a press conference to defend the government in the wake of this controversy. Now those ministers include Revenue Minister Krishna Bairegowda, as well as the Vijayapura district in charge Minister MB Patil, as well as Zamir Ahmed Khan. They will address a press conference and put forth the government's defense in the wake of this controversy. Harish continues to be with us on the broadcast. Harish, please complete what you were saying. But at the same time, what kind of defense can the government put forward, given the fact that, as you were pointing out, this is a brazen violation of the law when it comes to this illegal conversion of farmland to Waqf property?
Well, at least in the case of mutation to 41 properties in Tenihalli, in Indi Taluk, there is nothing that the government can defend. Right now, they are conceding that there was a mistake, but they are blaming the Tehsildar for acting in an arbitrary manner. And they're saying that the Assistant Commissioner will look at these changes and have a hearing, take documents from the farmers. That's what they're saying. In this particular case, there's absolutely no defense. The government has conceded that there was a mistake committed. The Waqf board name was added in 41 properties without issuing documents. They have conceded that. The press conference now of 3 senior ministers is to defend the government on various other issues of the Waqf board, especially coming out of Vijayapura on one. Perhaps they can take some sort of a shelter under the ambiguity that was there in the Gazette notification that had happened way back in 1974. But in other cases, especially the one coming in from Indi, there's absolutely no defense that the government can have right now. They are blaming the they are blaming the Tehsildar. But the larger point to note here is that on a sensitive matter like this, where a Karnataka Waqf board name is being added to a land record document of that to 41 different farmers, would the Tehsildar act independently? Can the government assure people that there was absolutely no pressure on the Tehsildar to act in this manner, going against the law? Because Tehsildars know the Revenue Act very well, revenue rules very well. The DC himself is conceding that he did not follow that rule. So now the question that the government has to answer is, did the Tehsildar act independently or was there pressure on him? Because the BJP is alleging that all these acts of the local administration, the revenue officials, happened just 2 days after that visit of Minorities Welfare Minister Zamir Ahmed Khan to the Vijayapura district.
Right, and Harish, so that is the charge coming in from the BJP as well, that the small fish could be thrown under the bus to protect the big fish.
Absolutely, because the government, once after conceding that there is a mistake, they can't really say that this has happened at the behest of one of their ministerial colleague, cabinet colleague. So it's easy way out for the government every time there is a crisis to blame a low-rung official, a Tehsildar, and just get away saying that we will look into it, there is a committee that will look into it, it will be fixed. But the question really that they are failing to answer is, what was the hurry? If in 3 weeks 41 properties and their land records are being changed, what was the hurry then? Second, many of these lands are not in contention. For example, the one that we are talking about from Tenihalli village in Indi Taluk, that has never been in contention. The farmer spoke to us. He said that he's been holding that property for a good 4 decades. He inherited that property from his mother and he's been cultivating that particular 14-acre parcel of land for the last 40 odd acres. And all the RTCs way back, dating back to even 90s and 80s, show his possession of that land, his rights over that land. And he says there is no Qabristan or a masjid or any Muslim institution in the near vicinity for the government to now come out and say that this is Waqf board land. And he's saying not a single notice was issued to them. And that procedural lapse seems to be putting this government on the dock.
Absolutely. Harish, please stay with us. We're getting a reaction from the BJP, from Karnataka BJP Chief B.Y. Vijayendran. Now, as the war of words continues to escalate, B.Y. Vijayendran has targeted the Siddaramaiah government, saying that this has exposed the Congress government's appeasement politics. Listen in.
Congress government and senior leaders are trying to divert the issue again. But the intention of the Waqf board seems to be very clear. They want to take away the land that belonged to our poor farmers. And the poor farmers were cultivating this land from last 50, 100 years. So Waqf board has no right to take away this land. So our stand is pretty clear. We will stand by the farmers. Bharatiya Janata Party will extend complete support to the farmers. Question of taking away the land from the farmers will not arise at all. There is nothing new. The Congress party is always known for, appeasement politics.
And Harish continues to be with us on the broadcast as the war words escalates and the BJP continues to mount that offensive against the Siddaramaiah government. Harish, for our viewers, just decode the practicalities and the modalities of this entire scandal on the ground. Let's say that this entire row had not come to light and this transfer had gone unnoticed by several of the farmers. What were the challenges that they could have faced down the line?
Well, the biggest challenge is their ownership of that land then comes under contention. Now, for example, in these 41 cases from Indi, with the mention of the Karnataka Waqf board in column number 11, what it essentially does is it now puts the farmer in a difficult spot. He can't sell the land because the ownership is under contention. Second, he can't take loan from any other bank in case, for example, in this case of this farmer from Tenihali, he wants to develop that land. So possibly if he wants to pledge a part of that land, he can't, because then the bank will say that your ownership rights are not very clear. The column number 11 has Waqf board name in it, so your ownership is not clear, so you can't take loan. So essentially stops the farmer from having a very clear ownership of that land or even raising any sort of a land for a loan for development of that parcel of land. So that is the difficulty, one. Second, what it also does is now, for example, someone whose farmland now has been altered, documents has been altered, he has to now go from the Indi village, any village in Indi, to Vijayapura town to get this sorted, which means that he will have to keep roaming around to the revenue officials and their offices multiple times before this is fixed. And that is the worry that several of these farmers have. For example, the farmer that we spoke to, he said there's absolutely no contention over the last 40 years. Now suddenly if this land is being mentioned as a claim by the Waqf board, then it makes it difficult not just for him, his whole family is dependent on it. So farmers are worried that their livelihood is under question now, although the number might not be as huge as the BJP is saying, but definitely significant in number. If 41 in just 3 weeks in one taluk alone, you can imagine that if this drive goes on, how many more will be affected.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harish, for joining us on the broadcast and decoding this entire scandal, a new flashpoint in Karnataka. So be it the Valmiki scam, the Muda scam, and now the Waqf land row. The Siddaramaiah government is on shaky political ground and more ammunition to the BJP to take on the Congress government in Karnataka.